On today's show, we have John with Elevation Worship. John, thank you so much for chatting with me.
Of course. So happy to be here.
Yeah,
Chatting it
man.
up.
Yeah. So, how are things? You guys just released a brand new album, which we'll get to here in a minute. But how are things in North Carolina, and how's life going?
So good. Of course, we are, very excited about this weekend. Feels like we're all just kind of at a level 100 right now, 100. No, but Jay and I, my wife, she's a part of Elevation Worship as well. So we, most of the year feels like living out of a suitcase between tours, or we do these pop-up services with Elevation Church. And so we've been home for the month of June. And of course, we're home for a few weeks and family decides to come and visit. So that's been equally fun. And I don't know, I love it. My parents haven't visited in years, so it was nice to host them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, with everything going on, you guys did just release a brand new album called When Wind Meets Fire.
That's
And
right.
so we really like this.
Fast.
Yeah, we really like this album. You know, there's several collabs. You guys have Leeland on there, Chandler Moore, Joel Barnes, and of course your pastor. Could you be so kind to share about this album?
Yes, this is a special project to us. This is a live recording that we were able to capture over 2 nights of worship this last year. And a lot of these songs, there are some that we've lived with as a church for a year and some change. And there were some that were written a little more recently, Pastor Steven and some of the crew that was writing. So we captured those on this most recent night of worship. All of that, it's just a special album in the sense that they're birthed, from our church, and we just pray that God would use them to minister. The album is When Wind Meets Fire. A lot of people maybe ask, where does that come from? And the day of Pentecost, it talks about in the upper room, there was a noise like a violent rushing wind and tongues of fire that fell on those in that moment. So there's a lot of chaos, and we kind of look at that imagery and it almost seems like, okay, what a weird description. But I think, and I look at this project and it feels like there is just a range of, you have some really high energy songs, you have some moments that are down, and you have some reflective songs, and you have some very outward expressed, just vertical worship to the Lord. And I love that. I think that it's a unique way to ask and to present to people. Maybe you would create some space in your heart to receive the Holy Spirit in a new way. And it may be chaotic in your life and it may be crazy, but I just pray that this record would just reach into those places that people might meet God and need him.
Now, would you say that this album is like themed, the whole album itself from start to finish, towards the what happened in?
There is somewhat of a thread, and there are songs that are invitational. We pray and you have that mindset of the Holy Spirit coming and meeting and God doing a new thing and the miracle. But it's hard there's not a common thread through every song. I just think I almost see it as that imagery of, when he gave all of those, the tongues, and it was like, in the sense, people were confused, like, hey, what is this? I'm hearing this in my language. There are going to be some songs that people really resonate, and it's in the season of their life. Maybe this is the word and the lyric and the melody that might touch their soul in that way. And so I feel, and I view it as that way. I look at and expect God to move and use them individually. But yeah, so many people were involved in the creation of it. And so you have so many testimonies, so many different variations of people's gift through the creation of it. Yeah.
Now, you've been with them, what, 10, 15 years or something?
Yeah, 10 years.
Okay. Now, I mean, Elevation's been pretty well known for a while, but did you ever, or have you talked with Chris or anything like that on, you guys are a worship team, basically, that started from the church, and now you're, you spread out, you travel, like you said, you're always traveling and, going to these award shows, and, those things are nice, but is it like very humbling sometimes, or all the time, just to see, wow, man, we're just a worship band in North Carolina, and here we are given this opportunity.
Absolutely. I moved to Charlotte from Texas in 2014, and that idea of a song reaching into someone's life and someone's uh, heart is still I'm living it out right now. And I remember a friend of mine giving me a CD from Elevation Worship, like, hey, check this out. This is this worship team in Charlotte. And I remember I heard Give Me Faith. This is going years back,
I
but
love that song.
To the point that I want to make, and it changed my life. It really, God ministered to me. And I remember leading that at church where I was in San Antonio. And so now I look and fast forward, and I've seen countless families and stories of testimonies of people saying, the Lord really met with me in this hospital room, and I had this song on repeat. I had this album. I was watching online. I was watching church, and the worship just really, really ministered. God really blessed me. And so it is humbling, and there's a holy weight to that when God gives you this mantle of songs and you record them and capture them. And yes, you want them to go out, but there's this sense and responsibility that we have to live our life with that in mind, and have the faith to believe that God will, every time we step up to lead these songs, or every time we are writing or recording, that would be at the forefront, that God would do exactly what he wants to do in them. Yeah, I think it's fast forward to where we are now. I'm very thankful, and I'm very grateful for all of the stories that I've been able to hear. It's been very fueling and very humbling to my heart, and I'm very thankful, very honored.
Yeah. The one of the songs on the brand new album, God Is Not Against Me, that you sing with Tiffany, can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that is a song where Pastor Steven preached one weekend, and he really was, it's something that he lives out. But as he was talking about, God is it may not feel like in the mess that you understand, but he's never going to leave your side, and he's in it with you. And there's no circumstance that is too crazy for him. And that's a good and powerful chorus to sing. God is not against me, no matter what I think, no matter what the enemy wants to use to try to trick my brain to believe, oh, I'm living away from God, or I'm living in the shame, my past, or I'm living just this distant life from him. He's with you. He's in it right there. This is his fight. This is what he wants for you. So he knows every detail of your life. And I believe singing that through a chorus and a bridge and through melody, it's a good reminder. Get it into your soul. Get that little melody and reminder, so that when you're going through your week and you feel like you're by yourself, or you feel isolated, you know that God is right there.
Absolutely.
He's with you.
Well, this is a fan-based podcast, and so we will have fans write into us. And we had a fan of Elevation, and his name is Leeland from Arkansas, and he wants to know the story behind the song Authority.
Okay, so Brooke Lidgertwood, Pastor Steven, Chris, and Scott were writing for that. And so I don't know exactly where that comes from, other than the truth of what it is. The authority of Jesus Christ is final, and his word can change anything. He did it in a moment. Miracle after miracle story in the Bible. It took little moment for Jesus to change someone's life. So I think when I sing that song, there's power, and I'm grateful that I had the chance to carry that song. I just imagine if your life feels like it's in shambles, and yet you just have a faith to believe God can turn it around. And it's not always perfect in the way that we want it, but that is the heart. That's my expectation when I lead and carry that song.
Well, let's talk about your all's song Praise. I mean, we could talk about so much about this, but I mean, okay, a few things we heard, I think Brandon said it maybe at an award show, or we talked to him or something, but was this like a song that at first someone didn't like it, or was it by accident that it happened? Or, Tell us about that. And then were you guys obviously blown away by the response of how it's doing?
Yeah. I remember, so for the live recording, the night that we were doing it, the pre-pro was happening the day of for praise, and different variations of a hook, or different iteration of a little lyric tweak and melody tweaks were happening right up to the day and the night of our worship night. So that sounds very accurate in terms of, I think we were like, all right, what's the final melody? So I remember we do it that night, and just the energy of the song itself, you just kind of want to jump, and
Oh yeah.
it gets, the atmosphere is very charged, and I just see people, they gravitate towards the chant, and they're going crazy with it. So that night, just to see it unfold with all of the pre-production and the writing that was happening up to the moment, that was special, and I remember that. But I don't think we expected it to kind of go into a lot of the churches, and people singing it and covering it online, and there's so many different versions happening now and languages being translated.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow, God, like only you know exactly the timing of what people need. And I think a lot of churches have been using it as this up tempo, let's kick the service off with praise. So it's
Yeah, I saw on Instagram, and they tagged you all. I don't know if y'all saw it, or maybe y'all shared it. I don't know. It was like a marching band.
Oh yeah.
Did it. And
Yeah.
I was like, dude, that is so cool.
That was fun. I know Chris was out there with that team and that crew, and just the arrangement, it was powerful. I mean, like everybody was going crazy playing. So that was nice. I think it's up on socials on our account.
Yeah, that I would say that's your all's. I mean, you all have a lot of big songs, but I would say that's your all's I Can Only Imagine, where you'll be singing it for the rest,
Yeah. We're definitely doing it. I mean, Praise Party, that's a hint if we're going to do it or not for this summer tour. We are going to be singing that song. So it's going to be fun, and uniquely done in every city, in the expression of just people.
You all should, that's what you all should do, depending on where you're going. Like if you're going to a place that is really big country, you should do like a country version,
the Carolina version. Yeah.
Carolina version. And if you go to California, do like a, Switchfoot sounding.
It was just released in Spanish. So yeah, when we were down in Guatemala, I remember I was like, Lord, help me remember these verse lyrics in Spanish. So that was fun. That would be fun.
Well, with our first time guests, we like to do a thing called favorite things. And so I'm just going to give you a word, and you give me your favorite thing. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, Jonsal, what is your favorite food?
Italian food right now.
Right now. Okay. So it changes?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a Texan. Tex-Mex is always going to be in my heart. Breakfast tacos. It's what I grew up on.
So my favorite Tex-Mex is a place called Chewy's. Have you ever had that?
I'm not a fan of Chewy's. I'll tell you.
What?
I mean, I grew up in San Antonio. We have a lot of hole in the walls that are.
Yes. But they're jalapeno ranch, man.
There you go. Hey, I will say in Charlotte, I have hit up Chewy's once or twice just because our options are limited.
Do you have a favorite movie?
I don't have a favorite movie, but you know what I will say? Jenna used to watch You've Got Mail every Saturday. And so that's the first one that comes to mind. I used to hate that movie, and now I'm a fan. Love it.
That's what love does.
Exactly. Yeah, I really was like, I would see the intro and I'm like, you are not watching this again. You are not watching this again.
That's great.
So that's the first one that comes to mind. Not my favorite, but
yeah. Do you have a favorite show that you like to watch?
Yes. The language is a little bit off, but The Bear right now is my favorite.
Okay. I've seen it, or I've seen previews, but I haven't seen the show.
Okay. You should give it a shot.
Is it on Hulu?
It is on Hulu. Don't do it on a stressful week. I'll tell you that much.
Well, I thought you was going to say your favorite show is The Office, because 99.9% of our artists love The Office. So
you're gonna love this fact about me. I've never seen The Office in its entirety. I've only watched random out of order episodes and reruns. Okay. So I'm going to probably live by that for the rest of my life.
Do you have a favorite musical artist of all time?
John Mayer.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I love his stuff. Yeah. That's not mailing it in. David Ryan Harris, who plays with him, is also an amazing artist, and his voice and his writing and his guitar playing are unreal. That's my go-to right now.
His cover of Free Fallin' is still one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just describing his whole tour right now. Anyways.
Do you have a dream?
John Bellion, dream artist. I want to just be in a room where he's writing and producing.
Yeah.
Dream.
Do you have a favorite ice cream flavor?
Vanilla bean.
All right. Well, I guess with vanilla, you could, if you want to put stuff in it, you can, because it's just vanilla.
Yeah. Classic.
Do you have a favorite podcast?
I don't really listen too much to podcasts.
What about a favorite Bible verse?
1 Samuel 16. I don't know the verse, but just when David is anointed as king, and he was overlooked by all of his brothers, and he finally shows up to the scene, and that's my favorite. So that whole story is one of my favorites.
Well, what is next for you guys, and how can our viewers and listeners keep up with you all?
Yeah, so we are heading out on our Praise Party summer tour. Elevation Worship will be touring we'll be out there by ourselves. And so we hadn't done that since 2019. So if you're in a city nearby, please come through. I think a lot of it is sold out, but just try to sneak your way in or something. No.
Yeah.
We're also heading out on to the West Coast in October for Elevation Nights. And that is with Pastor Steven, Elevation Rhythm, Pastor Holly, a ton of our church. We take church on the road. So that's always a blast. And I'm excited to get back on the West Coast and get into those cities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have y'all ever thought about, you released a Christmas album this past winter. Have y'all ever thought about doing a tour for that?
I don't think that's in the works because our Christmas services here at Elevation Church are huge. We do a lot of prep.
Yeah.
And so I think our team would hate us for that. Even pitched the idea to do a Christmas tour. But yeah, that'll be fun to see it a year later, after it was released, and we'll see what happens. If you haven't heard it, check it out in July.
Yeah. Christmas in July. Well, to wrap up, I'd like to see if you'd be willing to share something that God's been doing in your life recently that would help build our viewers and listeners' faith. Yeah,
not too crazy deep, but I just have been rereading Ecclesiastes a little bit, which is an interesting book. And just this idea, Solomon is, processing his wisdom, and he's processing all that God has given him in terms of vast wealth and just knowledge and just experience. And, there are a few chapters and a few verses where he's like, the only thing that matters is truly the work that's in front of you, what you eat and what you drink, and let it be what it is. And I don't know, I love, in a world of comparison, in a world of we're just an overdrive of processing content and information and knowledge. And I think we forget the basics sometimes of just what God has put in front of us and the thing that we're supposed to be working on and doing. And it may be mundane. It may feel like, all right, this isn't, I don't know, like I just need to outwork and outdo, but just focusing on what's right in front of you in your hands. And I think trusting that God is going to meet you there. And that is an important life principle. So I've been going back to that and hopefully going to study it a little more too, just to get some more revelation from it. But if that encourages you, I just pray that you don't over worry and overthink. And there is a specific and unique assignment on your life. And so focus on that. Trust God that he'll meet you in his timing, his perfect will. Yeah.
Well, John, thank you so much for sharing that. And your all's new album, Elevation Worship, When Wind Meets Fire, is available now. Will this be available on vinyl by chance?
It probably will, but I don't know the exact date. I got a CD, which is so random. They gave it to us as a little gift.
Cassette tape?
Yeah, no cassette tape. I'm sure coming on vinyl, but yeah, very excited about it.